This conference will now be recorded.
Hello all, welcome back for another session on performance testing using NeoLoad. Let's have a quick recap on what we had done in the previous session. In the previous session, we started off looking into some of the introduction about the performance testing. Just gone through, so I would like to have a short recap on this. So performance testing, why do we need a performance testing or let's say introduction to performance testing? So it's to determine the performance of an application under various load. Okay. Also shown a different kinds of performance testing as well. We will discuss that in shortly. So why do we need performance testing? Why performance testing is required for any business, right? So the first and foremost is the loss of business, or we let's call this as an opportunity cost. The example what I had shared is if we are uh, let's say if we take any business, it is going to have some competitors. Okay. um, uh, so if we take Amazon, right? Amazon into retail, and it's an e-commerce business. Okay. So in case if Amazon is not opening, then the end user, right, it's likely move on to a competitor of Amazon or similar businesses, right? So when that happens, um, it is a opportunity cost for the actual business. Okay, so performance is a key area where it will reduce the losses. Okay, another thing is it can also bring in more revenue if the user experience, if the uh, application is fast and it's really good, then more likely you will see people are returning to it. And finally, if any business to grow and succeed, these three aspects is greatly required. Okay, this becomes another let's say a pillar of key benchmark, right? That is on the scaling. The business should be able to scale within. We should the business should be in such a way that it should be able to scale how much ever the users is coming in, right? So one example I would like to share. I'm pretty sure you are aware of an application called the Signal, right? So sometime back, what happened? WhatsApp has come up with some privacy policy and some policy which is not so great, and then a lot of folks who wants to look for an alternative for WhatsApp, right? And that is when many were suggesting Signal. And what happened? Signal suddenly started facing a lot of huge influx in number of users that they are signing up, they are downloading, and they are trying to use their system. And I would say Signal kind of lost its its opportunity. The only opportunity that it got, it did not monetize it. It did not took advantage because of the scalability issue, right? That is, it went from few hundred users to few thousand users, right? Or even uh, a lot of users. The growth was like 100x, 150x, right? And they were unable to scale it, unable to manage the sudden influx in the customers. And that is when the scaling is highly looked into. And it is good to for any business to determine how the year on year users are going to change, right? We will further discuss all these uh, concepts as we proceed. The second part of this is the stability. The system's stability is also taken into the consideration for a long period of uh, duration, how the system is behaving under certain load. Okay, and then the robustness is all about the integrity, right? That is the data validation. If a transaction, for best example is if a transaction happens, the transaction should happen end to end, right? Each The example that I have shared is if we take an ATM machine, in case, let's say if we are trying to withdraw cash, and if the transaction has failed, it should be failed completely. It shouldn't be like the money has been debited to the from the account, but no money was delivered to the user. So that is a data validation issue. Okay, that is that the system is not so robust. Okay, this also falls into performance. So let's proceed. So we discussed different kinds of testings. So load test is the application under peak user load. Stress test is to identify the application's breakpoint. Soak test is to determine the stability, which I just spoke. Spoke test is for warm up. Validation test. Spike is on the sudden jump in the user load, and finally the capacity is to determine the maximum capacity of the system. So let's move on. So what is a workflow? Okay, so workflow, a series of user action is called as a workflow. Okay, let's look at an example. Okay, so I'm the um, end user. Okay, I'm just launching this. Okay, I'm going to Wikipedia. Okay, I'm just going to. So this action, right? I'm the end user. Okay, whatever the action that is exerted on the application can be called as an user action. Okay, so I just launched this Wikipedia page. This is one user action, and I'm just going to search field, and I'm typing something, testing. Okay, and then I hit on search. Okay, typing test is also another user action, and hitting on the search button, another user action. Okay, so a series of user action, that is a continuous actions, right? That is from launch, then typing something in the search field and hitting enter, and then coming to this page, test page. So all these are series of user actions, and these together can be called as a workflow. Okay, so we will be working with workflow. So this is the example I just showed you, that the end user is launching the web page, searching something in the search field, and then finally clicking on that link, whatever the results came in. Okay, so this is the workflow. Okay, so here the user actions, right? The end user actions is going to be called as a transaction. From the performance perspective, transaction is used, and if you see, transaction is the keyword used in performance testing. So we are not going to call this as a user action, but this will be called as a transaction. Okay, so a transaction can have can be it is a group of requests, okay, that belongs to one particular user action. uh, Under a transaction, it can have multiple pages. Under pages, it can have multiple individual requests. This also we have seen in the previous session. So let's proceed. So this is a simple. Okay, until this, anybody has any questions? Can also use chat box if you have any questions. So I take that as a no. No questions. Okay, let me proceed. In case if anything, please stop me. Okay. Fine. So this is the client and server architecture. So here the client is referring to the end user, or let's say this machine, the machine I'm currently working with, and then the server is the host. Okay, so how this client and server is going to communicate is through this request and response. Okay, so a client is going to send a request to the server, and server will respond to the client, okay, based on the request. So whatever a client sends to the request to the server is going to be called as a request, and the server's uh, sending to the client is going to be called as a response. So The crux of performance testing is all about this. That is the request and its corresponding response. How quickly a client can get a response is all about uh, on the performance testing. Okay, so let me show you this in practically. So I'm just going to bring the developer tool. I'm just using the shortcut and I'm under the network tab. Okay, I'm going to open this web page. We've already seen, but I would like to once again show it to you now, right now. Okay, you see this, right? To open this web page, here there were 22 requests got fired to the server, and you see initially it starts with this catalog.action. This is the main HTML document, or let's say the main request. After the main request, followed by a series of requests, which is of mostly associated with non-HTML resources. Okay, anything apart from the document is going to be called as a non-HTML resources. Non-HTML resources consists of all this CSS, JPEG, images, GIFs, scripts, SVGs, icons, all of them. Okay. In a way, all these non-HTML resources, that is these images, right? That is making up the entire web page. Okay. So from the standard perspective, that is from the performance standard perspective, it is not necessary to also include these non-HTML resources. Usually non-HTML resources are not taken into the uh, consideration of the performance objective. Okay, but this is not applicable for all kinds of applications. Okay, there are applications which is called as resource intensive applications. Okay, let me show you another example. Okay, I'm just going to Google. Some of you may know about this web pages with this business. Okay, it's called as Mac Cosmetics. Okay, so I'm just going to this uh, beauty makeup and okay, it is taking some time. Let me stop this. It's going to take some time. It's still working. This can be called as highly situations, okay, where patients are highly dependent on all these colorful images, GIFs, and other non-HTML resources. This is filled with a lot of images, a lot of colors. It's so colorful, right? More images, seeing more banners. It's not yet completed, and I'm already seeing it has crossed 550 requests, closing to almost 600. And how much was already? It's crossing more than 17 MB. But if you see this one, this is just a simple lightweight application, just 22 requests and a total of 64 KB. of resources. Here it goes in megabytes. Okay, so think about it. Every time if the end user has to load this much resources, right, and performance becomes really a key metric or a key pillar for this kind of applications. Any beauty makeup applications that you take, there is one more. So why I'm specifically taking it, I had a previous CEO on this. You see this, right? This see this. If you go to this is the completely not so much as cosmetics. Still, a lot of still the uh, such business. It is evident that they are highly dependent on the HTML. So science this becomes is to be included as a part of the performance objective. Okay. Right. So you see this, right? Open up this page. Okay. It needs to load all these images, and you see there's a lot of scripts, and all needs to get loaded, and that is why in a way um, the performance is all depends on these requests and its corresponding response. Okay, so that's it. So since we are highly focusing on the request and response, so let's look at the components of a request. Okay, so there are four components in that. HTTP method is the first component, and HTTP method is these: get, post, delete, put, option, trace, and so on. Out of this, get alone takes up to 98% of the existing methods. Most of the requests is associated with get, the rest all with post, delete, put. So post takes the uh, second largest. Okay, after that it's delete and put, as it's very minimal and we rarely see these, right? So HTTP method is the first component for request. And URL, application URL, or also called as endpoint URL. Endpoint URL refers to the so if you are going to any web page, let's say google.com, that this is the URL. Okay, so this is the second component. And then a list of header attributes. Some attributes are mandatory, some header attributes are mandatory. So without that, the request will be incomplete. Some of them are optional. Okay, optionals one, it is still fine if the request does not have those uh, header attributes. Okay, and then finally it is the body. Okay, body usually contains the parameters that is getting sent to the server. Okay, so with or without body, still the request is complete if the request has the first three components, that is method, URL, and headers. Then the the request is complete. Okay, even without a body. But if the first three components, if something is missing, then it is an incomplete request. Okay, if the request is incomplete, then you would likely to see 400 bad request. We will discuss about this as we proceed. Okay, so since we are discussing about Components. So let's also look at the components of a response. So response code are also called as HTTP status code. Usually this code is represented in 3-digit value, and you can see this, right? It goes into series 100, 100 series, 200 series, 300 series, and so on. We will discuss about response code in detail in upcoming sessions, but for now we will only focus on the response components. Okay, so headers, like how request has header attributes, similarly response also has header attributes, and then finally it is the body. Okay, so let's see this or this example itself. Okay, so I'm just going to the first request. You see this, right? So request URL, this is the request method, HTTP method, at this okay, and this status code or uh, response code, usually this is a part of a response. Okay, but in the dev tool this is how it will look like. Okay, a similar one I would like to show. Let's say I open something here, go once. Okay, recorded request, you see this, right? This recorded request has just the 3 components. There is HTTP method, endpoint URL, and a list of header attributes. And with the response, this is the response code. 200 means successful, a list of header attributes, and then followed by the body. Okay, so even with the response, body can be optional. Sometimes you see data in, but sometimes you will not see it. Okay, that we will discuss as we proceed. Okay, so what I would like to show you is I would like to show another. We will further proceed. So this is the script that we had recorded in the previous session. Okay, I've also just going to expand all. Okay, I've also walked you through on the hierarchy, how this, what all these components. Let's quickly look at it. So these white documents are individual requests. White document with a small blue ball. These are called as pages, web pages. Yellow folders are transactions. Violet folders are containers. And this human icon, this is called as a user path, or let's call this as a script. Okay, so let's proceed. So I would like to replay this. Okay, how do I do it? You see this, right? There is this a different human icon with a tick mark. It says check a user path. Okay, I can place it here in this human icon, and I can use this. You see this, right? Check user path validity, the same icon. Okay, I can either invoke this from here or from here. Okay, so right now what we're seeing is the check user uh, part. Okay, so before, if we click on start checking, this is just going to replay whatever that we have recorded. Okay, but there is uh, one default action that we have to do it every time we are going to check this user path validity. Okay, so we just have to go to advanced. Okay, so this is the advanced parameters of check user path validity. Okay, in this let me just quickly walk you through. You see this load generator, it is defining the current machine. Local host means it's this machine, it is referring to this machine. We can also set up LG from a network or a remote machine as an LG, and then bring in it, use it as an LG. It is possible we can hide it. I will also show you how this can be added as we proceed to the scenario setup. Okay, so this is on the LG handle cache. So handle cache has three options. Okay, as recorded, new user, and returning user. As recorded is just going to replay as it is. Whatever it got recorded, it's going to replay as it is. New user, new user is going to simulate a new user every time a new iteration starts. Okay, returning user, only the first iteration a new user gets executed. From the second iteration onwards, it will look like the user is a returning user. Okay, so returning user is best fit where we are working with an application like social media, any social media, right? I think everyone has used Facebook. So how it is? So only once we will open the web browser and then log in to the Facebook, right? When we try to visit the page, maybe evening or the following day, it is not going to ask for credentials again. Only the first time we will provide the credentials. The second time, Facebook automatically logs in whichever user has logged in, right, to the system, and then you will be able to work. So that is a returning user requirement. Okay, so that is how it is different. Okay. So in this, one default action is we have to always select this handle cache as new user so that the cache is cleared, and NeoLoad is going to simulate like how a new user is logging in. Okay, and there are other parameters. Okay, this we will discuss as we proceed. Okay, okay, so I've changed it. I'm just clicking on start checking. Get started. I'm seeing an error, so let's see it. Okay, this is an ICO which says 404 not found. Either way, right, this is a part of non-HTML resource, so I'm just going to disable it. It is not required for as a part of performance objective. Okay, once again I'm going to rerun this. Okay, so that here it says user path is valid. Okay, so you can see as when a successful uh, iteration happens, you can see this, right? There's a green tick mark which says the user path is valid. Okay, so let's also explore here. So on the left hand side, what we see is the entire script. Okay, it starts from that human icon, user path, all the containers along with all the transactions, and its various items that is involved for each transactions. Okay, below what we see is the details. Okay, so let me walk you through on this. So you can see this, right? User path, the name of the user path is given, page count, how many pages that are, you can see this, right? You can count 2 3 4 7. So it says 7, and how many requests that is involved to make up this iteration, okay, or this script. So there were total of 21 requests. Okay, no push messages. Okay, push message count is 0, and virtual user size. So this is representing on the size of the user, and which is highly negligible. It's around just 886 KB. Okay, virtual user duration. Okay, virtual user duration is representing on the So to execute one iteration of this script, it has taken around 4 seconds. Okay, and here we can see, and there were finally it says error count 0, no errors. Okay, so here you can see this, right? There are like these many different tabs. Okay, starts from time, action, response code, assertions, and difference. Okay, so time is representing for on each action at what time it is getting started. Okay, so you can see it is starting, and let's say the launch starts from 1.134 second. Okay, so the user duration likely to start from this first transaction until the last transaction. So this is the time. Okay, so request level time, we can see it on the left hand side. Action, which action is getting executed, and its corresponding response code. Response code we will discuss in the upcoming session. It's in detail. Okay, so 200 means it's just successful. Okay, so I can see all of them are 200. That means it's successful. Assertions, we haven't applied any assertion, so this is largely empty. And difference is all about the recorded response and the validated response. Okay, and below, if we locate to any particular request, you see this, right? Under details, this got changed. So look into this. So which page and which request, you can see if you want to navigate to this request, you can just simply click on this and it will directly navigate you to the design page. Okay, if you want to make any changes, we can do so. Okay, so here what we are seeing is under the details. Okay, the request a complete during the validation. Okay, so you can see the same uh, structure: get, endpoint URL, list of header attributes, response. Okay, I'm just going to the response. Okay, you can see the response 200 response code followed by a list of header attributes, and then there is a body. Okay, assertions, we will discuss about this when we are discussing about assertions. Okay, so here there is this buttons. Okay, this is comparison. Okay, you can compare the request with the response with the recorded one. See, right hand side what we are seeing is the recorded request. Left hand side is during the validation or during the replay. Okay, and while we compare this, okay, you see this, right? There are some highlights here. Okay, green highlight means there are some text that got added. Okay, but from the um, a request perspective, I am not seeing any difference. You see this, right? This ACC fetch mode, the same thing will be appearing elsewhere. You see this, right? Here it is appearing, I think, navigate, right? It is appearing the same. It is just jumbled. It is not in the same order. That is the only difference I'm seeing. And the gray highlighted ones are modified fields, modified text. See below, you can see this, right? The legends. So gray ones are modified, green ones are, it says, although NeoLoad thinks like this is an added text, but it is the same header attributes. It's just got jumbled a little bit. Okay, modified block, which is in white, and then blue ones are like new line added so that it can synchronize with the scroll. So that's all in this comparison. You can also compare the response. You can see this, right? And this response, it clearly says, so the highlighted ones are modified one. So there are no major difference. The only difference I'm seeing is the date and some session ID, which is appearing in the cookie. Generally, cookie is usually handled by the tool by itself. Okay, we need not spend any major time on that. And you see only these values, some values are being changed. Okay, apart from that, there's no other changes. And this change amounts to 12%. Okay, that is what this difference uh, is about. Okay, and this is the check user path validity. Okay. Uh, so anybody has any questions? So anybody new who has joined? Is anybody wants to know anything on the course perspective? Any questions? Any clarifications? Okay, I just want to once again just walk you through on this part. Not sure if who has joined new, but either way. Okay, so some of the benefits where you can uh, live Q&A clarifications where you can stop me, can we can discuss and yeah, you can clarify your queries. All the sessions are recorded and you will be provided access to these recordings, okay, for your future reference. In case for some unforeseen circumstances, if you are unable to join the session, need not worry. All the sessions are recorded. Be you will be able to watch these recorded sessions and then catch up with the batch. Live troubleshooting sessions. This is specifically allocated. I'll make you a presenter in case if you are facing any uh, challenges, technical challenges, maybe in your configuration. I'll be able to support you in that. This also creates a learning opportunity for everybody. Okay, and professional certification support. That is, I will guide you. I will give you some guidance on how you can approach to clear this certification. Okay, definitely this will be useful for you. From the course content perspective, let's look at it. Performance testing concepts, we will be time to time we'll be discussing on the concepts using the NeoLoad tool. Okay, concepts is the fundamental base of any performance testing. Okay, we'll be discussing about most of its NeoLoad features and its functionalities, and also the components of the NeoLoad. And all of all of them are going to be practical demonstration. It's going to be hands-on, not too much of theory. 85% of the course content is going to be hands-on. So what else you can expect? You can expect 4 sessions to be conducted per week. Each session can be of 1 to 1.5 hours per session. A total of 18 to 20 sessions you can expect, and also an optional practical lab sessions. This is mostly targeted for the absolute beginners who is just getting started with the performance testing and NeoLoad. Usually these sessions are conducted during the weekend. Public holidays will be a holiday, and also the weekends is going to be the holiday. Only weekdays we are going to have sessions. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So there is, let me also check. I'm just seeing a message. It says you are breaking. Am I still breaking? Is my voice clear? If you are speaking, I cannot hear you. I see you have unmuted. Can anybody else hear IB? Uh, I'm unable to hear you, IB. No, I'm unable to hear you. Kirti, Omkar, others, can anybody interact? Is it possible?
No, sir, I am also not able to hear LB.
Hear? Okay. No, IB, unfortunately, we cannot hear you. Okay, no worries. Maybe some audio issue. Fine. So we will continue the session if nobody has any other question. Uh, yeah, fine. Let's wrap it up. So if there are no questions, I'm closing it. So I'll see you on the upcoming session. Okay. Thank you.